So you have good attention. We're going to start with a reflective practice, and it is on impartiality. Yesterday we did an activity, step in and step out, that was meant to highlight our common humanity, or to help us see what is common in us. And it's through that we can develop the inclusivity, right? So this is a part of the practice. Some of you, I'm sure that all of you know in one way or another, but there is a practice called the 4 immeasurables, semeshi in Tibetan, right? So in Sanskrit, there are 4 immeasurables: upeksha, maitri, karuna, and mudita, right? Or impartiality, love, compassion, and sympathetic joy. Tanyom Jampa Nyingje Gawa. And this one is impartiality, but here we are taking impartiality really with a sense of inclusiveness. So if the idea is, when we have a sense of belonging, when we identify with someone is like me, then it's easy to have empathy. So it's in order to give rise to compassion, we need to have that sense of closeness, sense of affection, tenderness. And that comes when we see others as ourselves. It's not that easy to have that way of relating to others. Of course, it comes very easily, towards our own family members, perhaps friends, but it's harder for those who are strangers, who are kind of neutrals to us. And then it's much harder to identify that someone is like me. It's much harder to identify with someone who is an adversary, who is our enemy, or who we really don't like. But that's the way that how we see our social world, how we relate to our social world, in these 3 very strong kind of concrete compartments, concrete categories: my side, against me, and don't care. So my side, those who are my loved ones, against me, my adversaries, and then lot in between, who are neutrals. So we have to break down that concrete category so that we can see everyone as like ourselves, can relate to. And that's the practice we want. We're going to do it for a few minutes. So please adjust your posture for this reflective practice of meditation. Assume a comfortable sitting position, perhaps bringing our backs fully upright position, and then let it settle there. Our feet flat on the floor, and hands can be just resting on your knees or thighs or in your lap. Your shoulders broad, sort of slightly raised, slightly pulled back initially, and let them settle. Your head slightly bent, sort of chin slightly tucked inside. Eyes cast downwards, just leaving slightly open if it is not too distracting. But if it is too distracting, you may close your eyes. And lips and teeth in natural position, just gently touching. Just take a moment to connect with your body, this posture. Feel the upright position of your back. Bring your attention to your feet as it touches, where it's touching the ground. Feel that sensation of the touch, how the floor is supporting our body, our feet. Perhaps the seat of the chair or the back of the chair if you are leaning against. And then just take a moment to briefly scan your body and sensations. You can begin from the head downwards or feet upwards, just for literally for 30 seconds or so. Whatever sensations you notice, just make note of them. And then, if you came across some places where you felt tension, like tightness or just distressing feelings, let's this morning just take one full breath, deep, just very intentionally, slowly, and bringing deep into our belly as we inhale through the nostrils, with a sense of bringing in this refreshing and rejuvenating airs that fill our entire body. And as we exhale, with that outgoing breath, just letting go of all those tensions and distresses as we exhale. And then just for a minute, literally for a minute, let's settle our mind and body further by bringing our attention to our breath as we breathe in and out naturally, and just attending to each incoming and outgoing breath with the mindfulness of breathing, maintaining this awareness of each in-breath and outgoing breath. Attending to the breath. And as you just simply rest with your awareness with the breath, with that ever-slowing rhythm of the breath, let your body further settle and the mind further settle into that calmness, as if all that inner noise, as it begins to subside, the inner calm and serenity that becomes more visible. With our mind settled to some extent here, let's take a moment to dive deep into our hearts and mind, to see what really matters when all that is said and done, what we really aspire for. Do we see these fundamental yearnings to be safe, to be healthy or happy and happy? To be free from anguish, from suffering, from harms. How deeply we aspire for these goals, for happiness and for freedom from suffering. Acknowledging our fundamental aspirations as living beings, these are our first and foremost, the most fundamental aspirations. All that we do in one way or another, we engage in order to achieve those goals of happiness, being to flourish and to avoid the sufferings and difficulties. Let's now bring to your mind, who else also share these deep aspirations with us? How about bringing someone who is a stranger. Perhaps you see this person at your workplace, in your neighborhood, or maybe have even seen on this campus here, but that you don't really have a strong dislike or strong attachment to. Someone who is somewhat neutral to you. Bring that person to your mind, what he or she looks like. Where does he or she live? What does he or she do? How do they speak? If anything you know about this person, in a fuller sense, be aware about this person. Perhaps bring this person just right into this room next to you. Just chair next to you. As you do that, as you bring this person to your mind, and even just such proximity just next to you, check what you feel about this person. What is your feeling about? What you feel in your chest? Does it feel comfortable? Do you feel a little anxious? Or it's more of an indifference, sort of flat feeling, you don't really feel uncomfortable or kind of soothing or comforting to have this person next to you. If you know of anything about this person, of his or her success or some challenges that he or she may be facing, if you don't know of anything, perhaps anticipate something that loss or some other adversity that the person will inevitably will face. What you feel about his or her struggles or the adversities, the suffering, or the challenges he'll be. Seeing this person struggling, what kind of feeling do you have? What about if this person is enjoying life, meets with great sense of great success, accomplishment, something that if we have for ourselves, we will feel just such rejoicing, joyous. If you know anything about this person that's going well for him or her, what does that mean to you? How do you feel about it? Just check in your chest, perhaps. Is there any tightening, kind of warm glow, or just more of a flat feeling? Having recognized our own feelings towards this person that is as neutral to us, now bring to mind someone who is really dear to you. Perhaps your own mother, father, a dear friend, your own child, just young, with beautiful child, if you have, bring to your mind. As vividly, his or her face, how he or she speaks, movement, just hold dimension of this child or the mother or the father, a good friend. Perhaps bring next to you On the other side of you, other side, if you had the neutral person to your right, bring this person to your left. The chair just right next to you. And check what you feel, having this person in your mind and just even next to you. Your whole body, in your own chest, what kind of feeling is there? Do you feel some kind of warm glow, soothing, comforting? Just to have this person next to you. How about if you are aware of anything good happening to this person, anything going well, and enjoying good health, or some form of joyous experience that he or she is having? How do you feel? Does it make you happy? Feel rejoice? Is this feeling any different than the feeling you had for the neutral person when you were aware of his or her success and well-being? Just make note of that. And now bring to your mind someone who you may have had some issues with. Perhaps not in a very serious, really nasty way, but just someone to begin with, maybe just someone who is a little irritating to you. Maybe someone has made some comments that hurt you, or so your loved ones, hurt your loved ones. Bring to your mind this person as vividly as you can. In what way this person upset you? What did he or she do? What kind of behavior? What kind of values, attitudes, perhaps that really troubled you in this person's behaviors and so forth? As you bring this person to your mind with all that awareness about what is about this person that really upset you, bring your attention to your own body, to your feelings, the sensations. Even attune to your chest. Do you feel any tightening of the chest, feeling some tension there? What about the breathing? Does your breathing pattern, do you see any change there? Is it shallower? Is it harder to breathe? How about if you're aware of this person, some success or failures, or some challenges, something that's going good, well, or not well? As you attune to this aspect of his or her life, what do you feel in terms of his or her challenge? Something that's not going well. Do you feel a concern, or maybe even some degree of delight? Is this different than what you felt for your loved one or the neutral one? Recognizing this, let's just dive deep straight. How this person is just like us. They have bodies, they have needs for food, for drinks, for safety, shelter. This person also wants to be happy and healthy, has dreams and goals, just like us. See if you can really embrace this reality, this shared reality, that how the person, this neutral person, our friend, and the adversary, all three of these are just like us. Deep down, they too want to be happy, free from suffering, want to be safe. But just like us, they do have limitations, they do have vulnerabilities, they do have also inner dispositions. So just like us, at times they may not be able to conduct properly as we do. But like us, they want to be happy and free from suffering. If we can embrace this, then just let this kind of bring into expression how wonderful it would be if each one of these three and all those fall into these three groups for us. If they can realize their deep aspiration to be happy and to be free from suffering. May they be free from suffering, may they have happiness and well-being. Thank you.
Okay. Switching gears a little bit from that wonderful contemplative practice. I wanted to do our brief review of yesterday. More of the content today. So just so you know, so today we're going to be exploring systems domain for a short amount of time. And then we have the rest of the time planned to have you think about implementation at your school and how you might want to bring this work back to whatever context you're in. So we really wanted to plan in time and spend together thinking that through today and answering your questions and all of that. So that's what the rest of our day will be like. So just to briefly review yesterday, although when I was writing out the review, I was like, this really isn't brief because we did many things yesterday, right? So just to jog our memory, we started the morning with a little bit of review of the previous day, where we had learned about the Help Now strategies and the resourcing, grounding, and tracking. And remember what exciting activity happened right in the morning? Yeah, okay, so we started with the opening of the Who Are You? Great, so we did that activity as our warm-up. And then after that, Jen and I did our skit over here, right? Right, okay. So we did the skit to show you how you might use the resourcing, grounding, and tracking skills with a student, or how students can begin to develop those skills on their own. And after we did the skit, then what we actually did is we drew the resiliency zone chart, the high, resilience zone, and low, and we thought about my experience and we charted it right on that little graph. Okay, remember that? And then after that, I think Jen shared some student work or some other drawings that her students had done, also tracking their experiences with the high, low, and resilient zone. So she showed you some examples. We also then moved on to attention and did an attention practice, focusing on the breath. And then we did a fun activity, I think it was fun, with the spoon and the marbles. Yes? Remember that, to sort of explore attention and how we can pay attention using our different qualities. And yesterday I'll give a more in-depth description of attention practices and how we need to focus on the object of attention and be people about what we're focusing on and bringing our attention back when it wanders. Remember, he gave us some instruction in that area. We also did the loosening the knot activity. Yes, and we talked about self-compassion and self-talk, what kinds of things were going through your mind as we were doing the loosening the knots. And so we had some discussion around metacognition, which is the ability to be aware of your own thoughts as you're having them, right? So to be able to focus your attention then on your own thinking, right? And how, when you do that, that actually gives you more awareness and choices for your behavior, right? Because once we become aware of that script that's going on in our head, then we can be aware of the way that that is impacting us, right? And so we can try to use that knowledge to make better choices about our behavior. So that was about self-talk, self-compassion, and metacognition. We also reviewed the group agreements, and we added, I think, patience and the cell phone thing, right? So, and I had to check in about that to see, to see how we were doing with the agreements. We did the little exploration of emotions, and Geshe-la described Dr. Paul Ekman's work with emotions and the change that he went through when he met His Holiness the Dalai Lama with respect to bringing the aspects of compassion into his scientific knowledge about emotions. And then we did the emotion timeline, and Jen did a description, here it is, right? When you have an experience that is a spark, maybe a minor emotional experience, one that is small, that then becomes large or turns into a forest fire, we looked at that process. What is the timeline of that happening? So you have an experience of a primary emotion, a secondary emotion, other causes and conditions that are impacting you, such as your emotional model. So maybe some of your judgments about the feelings that you're having, expectations, all of that comes into play. And then also possible responses to that event. So what were your choices, what you actually did in that situation, and the resiliency chart. So they're looking at what is going on with your nervous system in terms of resilience during that emotional experience. And that's quite in depth, so there's more information about that in chapter 4 of your curriculum. Is all about emotions, and the learning experiences are broken up into pieces to explore emotions, emotion families, what impacts our emotions, and developing awareness about them. So we also did, oh my goodness, we did the Step into a Circle activity in the back, and we discussed a variety of ways that you might use that in your classroom. People had some other additional suggestions for you about how you might do it. And a very important part there is about recognizing differences, but also similarities to uncover our shared common human experience, right? But we probably all like it when people treat us with kindness, right? Maybe we have different expectations about whether they should or not, but we all probably like that. So developing a respect for our commonalities helps us treat one another with kindness and compassion. And then we did the cookie thief story. Remember the reading that happened up here? Yeah. And did anyone tell me what the kind of moral of the cookie thief story is? Would anyone like to share? What was that all about? Perspective. Okay, great. So it's our quickness that we have to jump to conclusions and to judge others and maybe cast blame on others without, taking a moment to step back and do some perspective taking and realize the full picture of the situation. Because in that story, someone thought their cookies were being stolen, but actually they were taking somebody else's. So that was a good story to explore with your students as well, a lot of fun. And then we did the empathy continuum, where we gave you a scenario and then we revealed different information about the student who had hit another student and what was going on, and we asked you to show how much empathy that you felt based on standing on the empathy continuum in the back. There was also a time for question and answer. Did I miss anything? Spoon and marble? Yes, did mention that. The spoon and marble activity for attention. Like this. Anything else that I might have missed? Oh, yeah, the Q&A session. So, anyway, I can't review all of the lessons learned yesterday because we have to move on to our new information today, but just to jog your memory about what we did yesterday, we really focused on attention, emotion, and self-compassion and empathy yesterday. So, moving on to the next thing, we're going to take a quick look at the systems domain and then do an exercise and activity to explore the systems. Any questions before we dive into that? Okay, fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. The third domain is the systemic domain. So we have covered the personal domain and the social or interpersonal domain. When it comes to the systemic, that's really, I think, the So one of the pieces missing in SEL programs, so far is the systemic part. So this is a big kind of addition, but there are three components to that. Appreciating interdependence. The heart of that is, when you think about the systemic level, it's not about just to say that there is a system out there. It's really it's a way of thinking, that how do we see our ups and downs? How do we see certain dilemmas and issues that we face? If we just see just kind of the face value, that's only one perspective, and that is often kind of not accurate. If we see any kind of event from a broader perspective, then we find how to engage, from as kind of as seemingly kind of the simple task. Let's say, for example, if you ask the children, why children kind of say hurt, the use speech that hurt others, like that, the hurt feelings. How does that happen? If you ask the children, it's just actually very young children, like the second, third grade children. They themselves apparently figure out what is this kind of that loop. You say some hurt feeling, and then you say something, it hurts someone, and then they are hurt, they say something, and it hurts further, and it keeps going and going and going. So they see that how this kind of continuous hurting happens in a playground or in a classroom among the children, and if they see what is contributing, then they can figure out how to break that cycle. And then similarly, in the bigger issues, whether global warming or social issues, and many of these kind of the issues that we are facing today, actually, if we have a better understanding about how these kind of problems manifest, what are the contributing factors and so forth, then we have much better way to address. And sometimes larger issues, it appears that we cannot do anything about it. But if we understand what is contributing factors well, then we can always find where we can interject ourselves. I remember actually His Holiness the Dalai Lama commenting one time. We had a student from Emory who asked His Holiness this question. For us, the student, they are young. So he said that for us, young students, when we see the world today with all the kind of the major crises, wars, and the climate changes, and all these things, we kind of feel very discouraged. And then he asked that, Your Holiness, you as a world leader, you obviously see these big problems. Don't you ever get discouraged? This student asked. And His Holiness said that, yeah, that when you kind of look at some of these major issues like global warming and like that, or other issues, like he said that, yes, sometimes, that it makes you feel like discouraged. But then he said that what I tend to do is, instead of focusing on what I cannot do, I tend to see and what I can do. And I also try to see what is contributing to these problems and where I can make a difference. And he said that it can be as kind of ordinary or simple, as in terms of the global warming. He said that he just makes sure when he leaves the room, make sure to switch off the lights so it's not wasted. Or he says that instead of taking bath where it takes a lot of water, just take shower. It's a quick shower, so use less water. And all those kind of in terms translate into reducing global warming. I mean, your contribution. So focusing on what I can do. But to do that, you need to know the system. And this is not only for the bigger issues. Every little kind of event or decision that we have to take, often, that those kind of tasks or the events, what issues are there, they are embedded in many causes and conditions and like that. So that's why appreciating interdependence is such an overarching kind of the theme. I know that from the Indian and the Tibetan kind of the traditional philosophies embrace this idea of interdependence, pratitya samutpada, and this is where that then we can see not only, when we are thinking about this, the person who is a stranger that I see, a person who is very close to me, person who is a little bit annoying, just few, but rather we can see the entirety of the humanity also in this kind of when we think of interconnectedness, in one way or another, we interact with each other, directly or indirectly. And then when we see that we can really have a kind of sense of common humanity, that the whole humanity is, as His Holiness calls, the oneness of the humanity. And that can then lead to, instead of just focusing our own kind of, involvement just for one's own well-being or their own goals, this can lead to addressing the issues that impact the humanity or the communities, the larger communities and the humanities. I've been very, very encouraged by how students really take this task, that once you introduce this. I've been teaching secular ethics at Emory for undergrads, and I'd give them a final project, the group projects. It's amazing what they come up, from these projects about the recycling to reducing animal farming to all kinds of issues. So this is how I think that we can ourselves, if we are more attuned to interdependence, it changes the way that how we relate to those larger issues, but also it informs our own actions. What can we do? What decisions we take? And this is also, in many ways, connected to with the discernment, understanding the discernment. So that's the last or the third and the last domain here. One thing I want to say is that interdependence is such an important concept. And it can be applied at many levels. His Holiness articulates that very well in Beyond Religion. Not only at the level of the kind of very subtle concept of emptiness, not necessary. We are interdependent. That how can we survive without others? That the more we focus on ourselves, just me, our world shrinks, and it becomes so narrow, and any kind of challenges and seem so kind of large, that when it becomes so narrow. But when we have this sense of connection with others, the world becomes enlarged. And then there's psychology. If you think about today, how many people are struggling with this sense of loneliness? It's a public epidemic. Like, for example, in America, Dr. Vivek Murthy, who was the Surgeon General during Obama administration, number one kind of concern he found in America in the public health, not cancer, not other ailments, actually the loneliness. People are suffering from this disconnection. We are social beings. We seek connection. When that connection is lost, we feel so isolated, deprived. And that's why the biologists call that after capital, like the death sentence, most feared or dreaded sentence is solitary confinement. When you are put into this little, cell by yourself, that the people go crazy. We're not built for isolation. We're built to connect. So this is what, when we see more connections, we become less kind of self-centered. We become more open. And also psychologically, that the greater connection, greater health and well-being. So with that, we will start dive into the activity itself for this interdependence.
Okay. Thank you, Bishop.
Thank you.
Good morning. How's everyone?
Do we need to give them the markers? Oh,
So we're going to begin with a very experimental exercise to unearth interdependent systems.
they can use their
involved in the
pens
creation
for the other
of
things, right?
objects.
It's,
So you're going
for
to
the
be working
central
at
part, they can
tables
use
where
this,
you are.
but the
Ideally, we'll
other
have
parts
things up, but
to
we
write,
have
they can
time.
use their own pens.
We'll just allow you to be with those for your in the center of your table, you'll find in a moment some markers and a large sheet of paper. This is what you'll be using for this work. The first task for your group is to decide quickly, just in one a little reflection together, a little group discussion. You'll be deciding on one human-made object that is useful for you in your daily life. So I'll go ahead and give you just a minute or so to discuss among your group. Just think of one object. It can be a water bottle, it could be a pencil, it could be a vehicle. Just one human-made object that your group decides on as an important human-made object.
The tamasha swala, sewa swala. Tangante the sugar digalar wa kila remote here the chik nato gyundo khoya ge chala the mige swesha ve chala or the nechik tiro ches kila ale remote ran chik remote yaku goya ya mare for this one actually it's good to if you can spread like that.
Decided on an object, go ahead and raise your hands.
Yeah, you all want to have access to this. Actually, you don't need so many of these. You can use your pens for the other parts, but for the central. No, okay. Yeah, no. I'm just saying that you don't need so many.
If your group has decided on an object, go ahead and raise your hands.
Chala, thank you so. Thank you very much. I can watch this.
So if your group has decided on an object, raise your hands.
Yeah, decide one as a group. One item do you think that you do need regularly, that it's quite important for your daily life. They're patient. Those channel. They shy, they do share. Those channel can also.
Everyone's attention up here for a second.
We have a next set of instructions coming, so please just pause your conversation for the moment so that you can hear Jen's next set of instructions.
Okay, so a lot of you will want to have that perfect object, but it can just be one simple one. So just settle on one, and as soon as you do, we need one person in the group to volunteer to just draw a simple depiction of that object in the center of your paper. So determine who that person is going to be. It does not have to be your token artist. It can be anyone. So go ahead and make a quick drawing in the very center of the paper of that object. If you're not comfortable drawing, you can also write the name of your object.
Yeah, you may want to come over here, so you will be drawing from all corners also afterwards. They will give you more instructions. So that's good on all sides. That's good. Yeah, this is good. You have it here. So what you want to do is what is this? Bottle? Bulb. Oh, that's great. So what you want to do is think about for you to have this bulb in your.
Okay, I think everyone look up for one moment.
Losel. Don't shut that. The in a sharing give. The Tenze condition at I plan to church. Tenze Pamala. They cancel. They told really like that go ready in a park go and Chalata to go Mambara Lamata Cheba Yongora. Alicata go Alicata La Carigo. You all know this the really like Mimangum Catesco. They told Tamadela, but the jumper the Chaza Domne and they search Latisha. Sama Yonga that Nachi gives some bad quite this Yongzola. Really like me Cates get a wachago. Tamadela Tamadona Robsi Chiorwa, what did they forget Tawada? The farmer chick read it under the Chala de Carrera. T-shirt. The T-shirt, the pen cotton and a cotton de Goar Walla. That farmer, the Shimba Chico Pentogomarwa. Shimba de la Coshimba, the Pena. Nangmi Guru, Kala Sokena, the Sotani, the Kola Kalasa, Bare, the Shimba de la Rata, Shimba de la Shimba Shimbachi Yola, Chake Mambochi Korwa, or that is a Samadom that is secure. Okay, I got Nami Koro, Yam, the Sotachi Koro. But then it took out Angi caption, I take Angi caption. There are tender said the Karela Tene Yongoto, Chipo de Karela Tene Yongoto. There. I think on number subject the data tomorrow.
Okay, let's go ahead and wrap it up. I know we can continue this for many more minutes.
Ask them if everyone has the final number.
But we'll give you one last minute to resolve your final number, and then we're going to do a share with another table. Okay, so go ahead at this moment, pause if you have not gotten your last number, and find your estimate number in the last minute. Thank you.
Yeah, write it down on your chart, the final number.
Okay, let's go ahead and we are going to have a little discussion about this. So I'm going to point to a table or gesture to a table and have you share out loud to the whole group what is the number that you came up with. This is all you need to share. So let's start here. What is the number that you first of all, what is your object and what is your number?
Can we have everyone's attention? Because I hear a lot of practice, so we want to this is going to be fun. We're going to put the number that each table came up with. Our object is a vehicle, any vehicle, and we've gotten a formula when we tried to give the formula a minimal value of 1,000, and we tried to do it on the calculator. The calculator could not take in the number. The formula is n raised to the power n people. And the minimum,
Repeat it again.
n raised to the power n people.
Raised to the power of n people. Okay.
And the minimum value of n is 1,000.
Okay, thank you. All right, next table.
Okay, we have chosen a house as an object, which is made by human being, and we come to the conclusion that approximately more than 50,000 people are involved in making this object.
Thank you.
Well, we came up with a t-shirt. It's cloth, and the estimation for our group is about 7 million. Because including the customers and the production. So because everyone on this board wears clothes, right? So it's related with everyone. So we put that up. So that's it.
But we also reduced to a unit, and then it comes across 25,000, 20,000 usually. So one unit, one factory, which includes mines, farmers, carpenter, transporter, fuel, factory work, shopkeep, consumer. That's 25,000 rupees for 25,000 people for one unit.
Initial, we had a hardship of having a topic. Some say mobile phone, some say.
I'm sorry, can you pause for a moment? Can you pause for a moment? We've done the activity. You maybe have more things to discuss as groups are sharing, but to show respect and care, we really want to pay attention to the person who's sharing at the table. And right now, we're just doing sharing, so we have time for each person to share, and we want to make sure the rest of us are listening. So please do so as we're going around. Thank you.
Then we came up with different ideas. Finally, we settled with clothes as a general code. So we concluded that there are a number of countless, if you say infinite number of people who has connection with this cloth. Rain, those people who contributed less rent, more rent, transportation, farmers, teachers, lawyers, you name it. Everybody is connected with this cloth. That was it. Infinite number.
Infinite.
Infinite.
Okay. Thank you.
So we are very similar to this next table, but we have a little starter to count. So number one in HV, the number one we try to count in factory, then factory. There's so many people we couldn't count. So there's the rubber maker, the rubber factories, then the fuel makers, then farmers, then eaters. How many people are eating? Maybe 1 million people are. So we can't count the people. We try to estimate the people, but we really cannot. So we don't know maybe. This is the endless, very similar. Like we made the bread, and the bread requires a farmer, and maybe the water, fires, and everything. In factories, in suns, in waters, and every airs, and everything. So how we can count? This is really terrible.
Wonderful. Thank you.
When we go down, there's so much to
A very good morning.
Good morning.
So our group has to shirt. So actually, everything is involved. Whether he's a businessman or a farmer or whatever it may be, everything comes under involved. So right now I'm talking about how many level or how many humans needed to produce one piece of shirt. So our group estimated. So we have nearly 200 to 300 people needed to produce only one piece. So it goes multiply. If we produce thousands, 10,000, then automatically the level of human level will increase accordingly. So this is our group estimation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. I can't express my words in English so effectively. So I'm trying to express my words in Hindi.
नमस्कार सभी को नमस्कार। हमारे ग्रुप ने सोचा कि बल वो चीज़ होगा जो हमारा दिन उसके बिना नहीं चल सकता। तो इस बल को बनाने में और हम तक पहुंचाने में हमने कौन इन्वॉल्व होगा तो सोचा। तो ग्लास चाहिए, ग्लास को बनाने के लिए फैक्ट्री हो चाहिए और उसके पीछे बहुत सारे रॉ मटेरियल्स चाहिए। तो उसी तरह हमने एक एस्टिमेशन किया कि अराउंड 2.5 मिलियन people may involve in this making this object. तो हमने conclusion में आया।
Basically, we met birds. So this is running from Losel to camp number 3. So if you need any ticket, then it's available right now. Please. Today we are free for everyone if you come. So basically, truly speaking, if the one verse, we talk about how many people are involved in that count.
Kadilo.
But we just make a very small budget that
Dudu re mare tung chiro anda jagi percent angare tanda di sa dudu nang shana.
Good morning, friends. Our group has lots of ideas. So from all those ideas, we took one idea, which we felt like is a very good one. So that was a bridge. We decided for a bridge. And they wanted to name the bridge as a SEAL bridge. Social, Emotional, Ethical Learning Bridge. To connect everyone through this bridge. So then we felt like this bridge, actually we took a village experience and we thought like the bridge size is somewhere like 30 feet bridge. Where the village has got a population of 13,700 people in that particular village. And every day more than 7,000 to 8,000 people cross this bridge for a different livelihood. And for this bridge, making this bridge, many people are involved, right from the architect, civil engineer, labor, and many people, labor. And finally, not going so deep, just on the surface level that we calculated the number of people required is something around 5,000 people involved in making this 30 feet bridge. Yeah, that is the surface level. But when we go more deeper, I think it would be even more.
So this is just one of our examples, right? The sweater, of course, you've all done this work already. This just shows a diagram of what we use for the kids to review this process. As we consider both the environmental aspect as well as ancestral aspect, we can see that really every object is dependent upon countless individuals. And because these are objects that we use in our daily lives, we can start to make visible the countless strangers who we may never meet who impact our lives. So this leads us to this sense of gratitude and tenderness for those who we may never meet in our existence. And recognizing also in our daily lives what is actually being done for us every day, right, in action by strangers. So we start to bring this kind of awareness verbally and explicitly into the classroom as we continue our work with the students.
Can I say a word?
Yes,
This particular activity actually was done with the students, the first grade students at a school in Atlanta. Just like the 6-year-old kids, 5-6-year-old kids, and when they were led to this activity, just where the sweater came from father, you know, did it just appear, you know, out of the blue? No, my father bought. Then where did the father, you know, get this? It just, you know, became available for him. No, he bought from the store, and did store just have it? No, it came from, you know, the ship. So how was that brought, trucks and all those things? But to make it short, you know, it kept going forever, and at some point when they were asked, one of the kids raised the hand, and it says that when the question was asked, where does it stop? You know, this connection, where does it stop? And the answer was, it never stops. Imagine, like, the young kids are so brilliant, you know, that they really have this innate systems intelligence. That this is what you are learning, that young children are very good with analyzing and thinking and critical thinking. So it's the model of this kind of, you know, the constructivist model of teaching, where it's not just fed, but rather having them come up with the insight. This activity works very, very well with them.
We saw that in all of you as well. Your aha
Of course, yeah.
was very visible for us. So we would like to wrap up this this experience with a reading. And unfortunately, I don't have a reading for us to collaborate on, so I'll just read it out loud to all of you. This comes from Milton Friedman, an economist who is very much interested in interdependence in this concept, especially within the concept of the economy. So let me go ahead and read. And we're talking, we don't have a pencil involved in here, but right, shirts, maybe there's videos. Look at this simple pencil. There isn't a single person in the world that could make this pencil all by themselves. Sounds crazy? Not really. Consider that the wood for this pencil is cedar, which came from the Great Lakes in America. In order to cut the wood, you need a saw. To make a saw, you need steel. To make steel, you need iron ore. The part in the center, the part we call lead, is actually graphite. It was imported from Sri Lanka, mixed with clay and wax. The clay is from southern United States, and the wax is from Mexico. The metal piece, which holds the eraser to the wood, is made of zinc and copper. The zinc is from Canada, and the copper came from Chile. The eraser is made from rubber, which came from a rubber tree in the Congo of Africa, mixed with the seed oil from Indonesia and pumice from Italy. The wood is painted yellow, not this one, which comes from a glossy lacquer made of castor oil, which came from a plant grown in India. It literally took thousands of people to get this pencil made and available to you at your local store. These thousands of people will probably never know or see one another, yet they are all bound by the unity of working towards a common goal. They don't speak the same language or live in the same environment, yet they are dependent on each other. In this modern era, we often think we are self-sufficient, and we think of ourselves as individuals. We often view ourselves as independent, unique, different, and unbound by the actions and decisions of others. We could not be further from the truth. People have had to rely on other people since the beginning of time. This holds true for relationships as well as things. If you have a job, it's because someone gave it to you. If you have a family, it's because you found a partner. In short, no one does anything alone. There is not a single thing or person in existence that does not depend on others to exist. Even our thoughts are born of others' thoughts. Without language, there is no thought. Someone had to invent language. It is impossible to exist without being connected to the history of humanity.
Thank you.
Yes. So when we come back, we will be doing interdependence reflective practice. We have a tea break, and we'll be coming 11:10. Okay. Thank you so much for all of your energy and enthusiasm.